This presentation deals with strategies to overcome procrastination. In Stephen Covey's model, he talks about urgency of tasks and the importance of tasks. And if you want to do the best to accomplish your goals, you want to spend a lot of time in quadrant 2 because you've really done quality planning and you're not living under the loom of a deadline. If you're living in quadrants 3 and 4, however, you're really indulging in procrastination behavior because you're the person who says you work best under pressure, or you basically are just not doing the important tasks and focusing on doing what you are interested in or having fun. The cycle of procrastination, unfortunately, is tough to break. We have a sense of false security, thinking we have plenty of time to get things done. Then we get lazy about it, saying, well, I could start now, but we don't. We start making excuses about how other things are more important. Then we start coming up with excuses and strategies that won't work, like, oh, I'll just stay up all night, or I'll get up early in the morning and get it done. Then we hit crisis mode when we can't get it done, we don't have what we need, and we end up getting a negative outcome. You would think we would learn from that situation, but no, we repeat the process over and over again. So it's important to know yourself, why you procrastinate, what the basis of it is, so that you can improve your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and you can combat that procrastination when you recognize it coming on. This is something called an infographic. And what it does is it basically lays out the ideas of a procrastinator like a flow chart and then gives some basic definitions. This is not an end-all be-all. It's just something to stimulate your thinking about procrastination overall, the motivation behind it, and some tips to overcome it. So let's take a look at the first part, where it addresses the idea of deadlines and pressure and whether or not you're quick to cut a corner, and try to assess yourself as we go along on this flow chart. Next, it examines what are the things that might stop you from working, or how you feel about decision making, or how serious you take the decisions that you do have to make. What about how others perceive you? How you perceive the quality of your own work, or the feeling that you have of maybe accomplishment or pride of the work that you do submit. That's when they start recognizing these different categories that they've come up with, called the daredevil, the perfectionist, the self-saboteur, the ostrich, and the chicken. And I'm going to show you their definitions of it. And again, this is not to label you or pigeonhole you into a certain type. This is just to get you stimulated and thinking about, why do you procrastinate and what can you do to overcome it if you can relate to one of these types. If you look at the daredevil is the person who is the one that says, I work best when I'm under pressure. They're the last minute. They're at the 11th hour. So it gives you some tips how to work with that if you can relate to that particular type of procrastination. The self-saboteur is the person who is doing everything in their power to make things go wrong, and they put their own obstacles in to prevent them from achieving things. You've got the ostrich, who basically is in denial and trying to ignore that things need to be done and is hoping that they're all just going to go away. And you've got the chicken, who is so overwhelmed by having so many options, they get paralyzed and make no decisions whatsoever. Finally, you have the perfectionist, the person who can't get out of their own way and really can't get something done because it always feels like an unfinished product. So again, regardless of the type of procrastinator you are, use the tips and really think about why you procrastinate and what you can do to overcome it. Let's get to some strategies. If you plan for each type of task uniquely, you make better estimations of how much time you need, and the overall task doesn't seem as overwhelming. For example, if you have to read 60 pages of homework for one course, break it up by subheadings or by a certain number of pages so that you can do it at varied times, even if it's just for breaks in between. So you have a stopping point. If you have a homework assignment, read the homework assignment and see what it's like. Do a preview before you actually sit down to do it, so you have time to think about it and know what it's actually going to entail. When you have to study for an exam or a quiz, do it over time. Use flashcards, review your notes, look at chapter reviews. All of those things employ distributed practice, which helps get information from short-term memory to long-term memory. Let's say you're really good at organizing your schedule like this person, where they even have included some fun activities and rest time as well. You need to make sure that you make the best possible use of the time that you have, whether that's blocks in between classes and work, or even small blocks of time. Maybe you show up to class a little bit early and you can review the syllabus or the homework assignment for that night, or you can review some flashcards that you have. Use those small chunks of time effectively. You want to make sure that your priorities are not actually your time wasters. We spend so much time doing some non-productive activities that we feel like we don't have time to get our real work done. So look at these different kinds of things like social media or napping or video games or watching movies as a reward for completing something that is important. Have a plan. You need to be organized to avoid procrastinating, because if you don't know what you need to do, you can't account for how much time it will take. You also don't want to get lost in spending a lot of time planning, because really what you're doing is procrastinating and putting off the task itself. So figure out a system, make the time for it, and complete those goals. It's great to think you have that cushion of time, or maybe you've gotten an extension, or you just feel like you're in the same boat with other students who haven't started their work yet either. Don't get yourself caught in that cycle. Look at the deadline for whatever you need to accomplish and make your own personal deadline before that, so that you have plenty of time in case something happens, or in case you need new resources or you have to ask questions.
I'm stalling. I have a problem with procrastination, and I'm supposed to start the show, and I'm not. So this procrastination thing, whenever there's something I'm supposed to do, I'll do anything other than the one thing that I'm supposed to do, and then I feel bad about myself, and then I get depressed, and then I really don't get anything done because I'm depressed. And I told a friend of mine about this problem, and she said, you should go to therapy. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, wait a minute. Why should I pay a stranger to listen to me talk when I can get strangers to pay to listen to me talk? So that's when I came up with the idea of touring, and I thought, now I have to write a show. So I thought, what do I want to say? What do I want to talk about? So I sat down at my desk, and I was staring at my desk, and I thought, wow, that's dusty. I can't write with my desk all dusty like this. So I went downstairs to get a rag, and on the way downstairs, my kitten was on the stairway playing with a piece of dust or something, and I went to pet the kitten, because it did the thing where they roll on their back and show you the belly, and you got to reward that. You can't pass that up. So I sat down, I was petting the cat for about, I don't know, 45 minutes, something like that. And then I went downstairs, and by that time I'd forgotten why I went downstairs. And I was staring around trying to remember, and I thought, I should paint this room. I wonder what color this is. It looks like a white, but I'm sure there's some fancy name for it. All these people, what kind of job is that to come up with a name for paint colors? You know, all the different color whites, like eggshell or linen or lily or off. all the different ones, you know. And then I thought maybe yellow, you know, canary or banana or smoker's teeth, you know, something that would be. I thought I've got it right. So maybe if I put music on, it'd be more inspiring. So I went over to the cabinet where I keep all my CDs. You should have seen that thing. Total disarray. Just, oh, everything. Meatloaf was next to the Cranberries, which I thought it'd be funny one night to organize it by food when I was drunk. Really nothing else was in there except bread. And just all kinds of weird, like the Doors and the Carpenters and Nine Inch Nails were together. And that doesn't help anything. So I thought, I've got to organize this. I can't put this off. And so I'm sitting in the hundreds of CDs, and the phone rang, and it was a friend of mine. And I said, I can't talk, I'm writing. And so she said, I can't believe you. You're so disciplined. I have such a problem with procrastination. And I said, well, we should go to lunch and talk about that. So we went to lunch, and we were talking about procrastination, and the waitress overheard us, and she said, I have a problem with procrastination too. I said, really? Get my sandwich. And so, but that's when it hit me, that's what I should talk about, procrastination. That's a problem everybody has. That's universal, procrastination. And then I said, oh, who am I kidding? I'm never going to get around to writing about procrastination.
So have a game plan. You need to have some kind of accountability to get things done. That will help you eliminate that procrastination behavior as well. When someone is checking on you, or you have some kind of reminder that is going to help you stay on track, then it's much less likely that you're not going to do the work that you need to because you have these reminders. If you can make things more fun, more interesting, more engaging, you're more likely to participate in them. So maybe you need to make your notes a little bit more interesting looking. Maybe flashcards, or maybe create a game, get with a study group. Whatever it is that you need to do to make the task that you find so distasteful more interesting and engaging, the more likely it is that you'll start it and complete it. You want to think about how to prioritize your tasks, to always have a plan B because life happens, and to be flexible and adaptable about the time frames that you have, because you can't always expect things. You can try to anticipate them and estimate them, but you can't always make that right expectation. If you take a methodical and systematic approach to avoid your procrastination, you're going to be much more likely to turn it into a habit and make it a part of your regular routine. And if you take behaviors and pay attention to them and do them regularly, you're not only going to accomplish the goal that you have at hand, but when you have similar situations in the future, you'll take the same approach and it will become a habit and a part of your regular routine. Think about commitment. When you talk about persistence and commitment and focus and self-discipline, those are all things that have to be part of your consciousness to overcome procrastination. When we talk about focus, you not only have to pay attention, but you have to eliminate those distractions. I particularly like these 3 keys. By breaking things into smaller parts, you can do less at one time, you can do it better, and you can do it more frequently. When you can stick to what you're doing, even through the good and the bad, and persist, that success will breed success, and you're much more likely to stay involved and engaged and not put things off in the future. So remember, as you try to accomplish any goal, you have to look at it as baby steps. And as you pay attention, you focus, learn more about yourself, you can do more to overcome the habit of procrastination.